Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's podcast for today. Well, it's been a very busy weekend for me. I'm still getting over winning the Best Gardening Podcast Award. It's such fantastic news, just to be recognised for something that I enjoy doing, really. So yeah, that's been the best bit of the weekend. I've also been to visit Sheffield Botanical Gardens, which was absolutely beautiful. There was so many flowers there, still blooming, right up to now, as it will all start to obviously die back around September time around now, as the weather starts to turn cold, but it's still absolutely full of flower, and the rose garden there is absolutely beautiful as well. If you've never visited Sheffield Botanical Gardens, it's definitely worth a visit. And then today I've been to a new market in Sheffield, which has just launched on the Grey to Green scheme. It's a way of improving areas and making them more wildlife and bee friendly and lots of flowers. And today they launched a market called Pollen, and as you can probably guess, the market was full to busting with plants. You couldn't not see for plants. There were people wandering around carrying massive plants he'd purchased. It was fantastic to see. And then there were like all different stalls where you could purchase like cactuses, succulents, house plants and some garden plants. And then there was some craft stalls as well, and obviously food, a nice pizza stall there as well. And then I saw some of my friends which were there from Leaf and Shoot at Kelham, and they were doing some demonstrations on how to make terrariums, which I've never seen before. So hopefully I will be able to have a go at doing that one day and give that a shot, as I really do need to start getting into growing houseplants. I know lots obviously about growing fruit and vegetables, but growing houseplants is a new thing to me. And then obviously I went down to my allotment for a few hours as well yesterday morning. So yeah, lots happening. So what do we need to be looking at the moment in the garden? Well, now is the time to be starting to plant your garlic bulbs. They are ready to be starting to put in the ground. You can do that through September, October, November, but obviously the earlier you plant them, the bigger you can possibly get them. So you can purchase the garlic bulbs from supermarkets, from garden centres and plant shops. Last year I was unable to get the actual seed garlics, what you can buy as proper planting garlics. So I went to the supermarket last year and purchased them and just planted the cloves, and they did fantastic. So I'm probably actually going to stick to that same method this year and get them all planted. So that's my plan for next weekend down at the allotment. So we'll have to let you know if we manage to do it or not. Fingers crossed the weather will be decent and I'll be able to get that done and get them in the ground growing ready for next year. And obviously now is the time to be looking at your spring bulbs. Have a look at your photos and see how the bulbs appeared last year in your garden. There's always extra room to be adding spring bulbs in the garden. And the more spring bulbs that you add in the garden, just keep adding them every year. The more that you keep adding, the beautiful it will look in springtime. And you can get some bulbs really cheap as well. If you look around, you can get some good deals on bulbs. And now is the time to be planting your daffodil bulbs, your hyacinth bulbs, but don't necessarily plant your tulips yet. They do say to try and plant your tulips around November time, as they can get diseased. as well, which I'd not heard of before, but quite a few of my followers have told me that the ideal time to plant tulips is November time. So that's what I did last year, and they looked absolutely beautiful. So we need to get some more daffodil bulbs on the plot. You can get them really cheap, big bags of them for £4 and 2 for £8 or something like that, which I saw in the supermarket the other day. So I'm going to get a load more daffodil bulbs and plant them down the sides of my plot. I keep going a bit further back with planting the bulbs every year, as obviously the more spring bulbs you have in the garden, the more beautiful it will look, and you cannot get over having beautiful colour in the garden in the springtime. And the main thing about planting bulbs in the allotment, which I do keep saying, is that when the bees wake up after hibernation, they will need that nectar. So you need the only things around for them at that time is the spring bulbs. There's not much else flowering around that time. So the more spring bulbs you've got in the garden, the bees will attract to the garden, and obviously then the spring blossom comes on your fruit trees, and that encourages to help pollination, increasing your crops in the garden. So the more you do for the bees will do for you. So remember that tip. So get them bulbs ordered or bought from the supermarkets, garden centres, wherever you want to buy them from, and get them planted. Even like what you can do is design where they need to go first on top of the soil, and then plant them all, so you've got an idea of what they'll look like when they grow. So that is basically what you need to be doing this weekend and coming weeks. I hope you've enjoyed it. Nice short episode for you today, and as always, remember, keep gardening and keep smiling. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.